Marge Long here. I'm at Gaylord Area Council for the Arts today, and I am going to teach a video that will teach you how to use the materials in your packet that you should have picked up from GACA. If you are watching this video and don't have the materials, I will explain the materials to you and you still should be able to follow along. This video is brought to you from a grant from Community Financial Credit Union, and it was a grant called Summer of Sharing. So in this first video, we're going to look at the materials in your packet, and we're going to learn how to make 3 different kinds of journals to use when we're doing our nature drawing. So in your bag of supplies, you should have a Ziploc bag with some materials in it, and that's what we'll be using for the next 3 lessons that I will be doing. This first lesson we're just going to get used to our materials and figure out what we've got here. So I'm going to have you take out the white paper that's folded. Not this one. It's this one. No, it's not that one. Shh. It's this one that kind of looks like a book. All right, this is a piece of paper, a large piece of paper that's been folded 4 times. What we want is for this piece of paper to have, right, it's been folded into 4 sections. What we want is 8 sections. So I'm going to fold these side 2 into the center to make 8 sections. And we're going to flip this around and make a little journal out of it. That would be good to take with you outside to do your nature drawings. So here we have 8 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These 2 folded lines in the center, we are going to cut those apart. And I'm going to start by using an X-Acto knife. And then I can get my scissors in there to cut that. And this is going to make a nice small little notebook that maybe you could use if you were going on a hike. Or you could do, I did one with just all butterflies that I was taking pictures of. Okay, so we have this cut, and now what we're going to look for is a star shape, and I'm pointing it at the camera so you can see that four-pronged like star shape, and then I'm simply going to fold this, and it becomes a little booklet that you can draw in, and has 8 separate pages. So that's our first little notebook that we're going to make. This is a heavy-duty drawing paper. One of the things that you'll notice when you're using the watercolor pencils, that's what the pencils with the rubber band are, is a set of Crayola watercolor pencils. Watercolor pencils are a great way for kids to be introduced to watercolor because they're a little more controllable than the watercolor that you put on with a brush. So we have this little booklet, so that one is done. Now in my bag I have a brown piece of paper, and I believe this one is all folded correctly for you. This has 8 sections. So just like we did last time, we're going to cut those middle 2 folds and turn this into a little booklet for you. I wanted you to have the experience of drawing on some toned paper. It's kind of nice, a nice way to draw using toned paper. And so we are going to circled this one the same way we did the last one. Yeah, flip it over here. We're looking for that. This is a little harder because it's a bigger piece of paper. I had some of this brown construction building paper, and it has a nice tooth so that it catches your pencil really well. So now we have a booklet with 8 pages in it. So that's our second booklet. And then that third piece of paper that you're going to find in here is just an accordion book. And so what we're going to do is, this one's going to be for our landscapes, and we're going to do an accordion book of landscapes. So those are our 3 substrates that we're going to be working on today. This one, I believe, is multimedia paper. This is the brown one's just brown builder's paper, and this small one is a heavy-duty drawing paper. And when you use watercolor, you want to have a heavier sort of paper. It doesn't work as well as on, say, copy paper or notebook paper, because it's going to, your water is going to make the paper bubble. So you have to use a little better product. Okay, so let's take our small notebook first. And on the very back of it, we're going to do a color wheel. I'm going to draw with, you might have noticed there's 2 pencils. These are Prismacolor pencils. Prismacolor are a colored pencil, but they're kind of a high quality color pencil. They have a lot of wax in them. And we're going to be using these quite a bit for these projects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a circle. If I wanted a perfect circle, I would trace something. I'm going to make an X and then make a line through it to make our color wheel. And then we will apply the 3 primary colors, yellow, red, and blue. And we need to, you do have a sky blue. I would suggest that you use the darker blue. It's more of a ultramarine blue, I guess we would call it. And the red. So when you use these watercolor pencils, you use them just like colored pencils, except that we're going to wet the pigment, and then the pigment becomes really bright and nice paint. I'm going to darken this blue a little bit more. So those are our 3 primaries. Also in your kit is a water pen, and what you have to do to use this water pen is you need to unscrew this portion and fill it with water so that this becomes the water that you're going to use for your watercolor pencils. You might have also noticed in your bag that there is a piece of material, could be from a sock or from an old shirt, and what I use that for is I put it around my wrist and I use it to clean my brush. So if I used a dark color like blue and then I went into yellow, I would simply use that to clean my brush. And it's just a nice way to, when you're out in nature, you don't want to be spilling out any paints that might have pigments that's not good for the environment. And your water will always be with you. And you can see that that water really makes that paint brighter. I'm going to go back to my blue because I feel like I wasn't getting, but I got to get the red out of my brush. So to get more water, you squeeze a little bit. So those are our 3 primary colors. We could mix our secondary colors, or Or we could just fill them in with the secondary colors, because we already know that yellow and blue make green. We can prove it by mixing them. But I think I'll just use my, what I'm giving you right here is just a chance to play with these watercolor pencils a little bit. Anytime you get new supplies, you just need to mess with them for a while so that you know what they will do. And yellow and red make orange. Watercolor pencils can also just be used like colored pencils if you don't wanna wet the pigment. But I like the brightness of the colors. Okay. Now, one of the reasons that I wanted you to do a color wheel, and you've probably done them before, is that I want you to know how to make some neutral colors, especially when we are doing animals or landscapes. We need colors that are more muted. And the way that you can get those is by adding colors that are across from each other on the color wheel. So if I wanted a nice kind of brown, I might, I'm looking for my Prismacolor pencil. You're going to have problems keeping track of these because you do have a black watercolor pencil too. If you use that, black will escape into your painting, where if you use the Prismacolor, it's not going to do that. The Prismacolor will not move. So let's say we want a nice brown. We can mix red and green, and when we wet those two colors together, we can get some sort of neutral, and you can see it's more red on this end, more green on this end. A lot of times leaf colors will be a lot of reds and greens, purple and greens I see a lot. Let's say you are doing a sunset and you need kind of a grayish cloud goes in front of your sunset. Because yellow is not really a real strong color, I'm just going to use a little bit of purple with it, but you can see what happens when I mix those together. You get kind of a grayed down color, and that would be a great color for clouds in a sunset. And the last two that we will talk about are blue and orange. Remember that you need to use your Prismacolor pencil to draw the box. And you can experiment, since you have two kinds of blues, you could experiment with which kind of blue you like. Try both blues in here. See what you get when you combine some of these different colors. There's a nice brown. So even though you only have so many colored pencils, the colors that you can get from them are infinite. So that's on the back of our little booklet. So we'll let that dry. The other thing that I wanted you to play with, let's take our brown booklet, This one we're going to be drawing some mammals in, and what I would like for you to do is to do a value scale. And a value scale has to do with dark and light. Because we're using brown paper, the brown's going to be our medium color. So we're going to block out, this is going to be our medium value. And then on this end, we're going to put our darkest dark. And our darkest dark is our black Prismacolor gone over a couple times or held so that it is really dark. And then we're gonna do a lighter version of that, so it's almost a grayish. We're gonna leave the brown paper for our middle value. We're gonna use our white Prismacolor pencil, and we're going to do a kind of a lighter, that would make a lighter tan. And then for our brightest bright, which normally on white paper is the paper, but on this toned paper, we're going to achieve that by using the white Prismacolor.